So off camera, I think what I'm going to do is wash any polishing, any alcohol cleaning or mineral spirits cleaning I need to do, I will do on this to get rid of, say, that black ring right there on the top of the truck, and prep it for relubrication. There's nothing to do to the bell and its bracket, maybe just a light wiping with alcohol. I'm going to have to decide how I'm going to clean this chassis. It is pretty dirty with oil, grease. You can see it even comes off the end of my finger. Household dust and dirt and things like that. Off camera also, I'm going to disable these two screws, one here and one right there, so I can get this reverse unit and pick it up and move it forward. And I might even put some masking tape to hold it in place, probably at this location right about here, and it should give me some extra wire that I can drop down and have really good access to this front truck and its motor. Before I move on to the work done and recap the work done on the back truck and the chassis, I don't think I've mentioned it, that when I cleaned the cab and the body, turned out pretty well, that it uncovered the build date stamp. This train was made in June 1960. As planned and forecast, I went ahead and cleaned and polished the rear chassis. Everything has been done except lubrication. Got all the excess grease off. It has not been lubricated. I will do that as a last step prior to assembly. And it appears to be working as designed. You can see what makes the bell go off. The only thing I did was I modified it slightly by putting a really small drop of solder at the base of the retaining spring right here. These springs are very, very delicate. They're made from a very, very small wire, and they have a tendency to slip out of these holes that they have them hooked into. This one being the worst one. And you don't want it sliding up and down this chassis. So I just put that one little drop. I cleaned the wire off by scraping it a little bit with a number 11 X-Acto knife, and then put in a small drop of solder to give it some strength. Then I moved on to cleaning all the washers that hold the rear truck on. I went ahead and cleaned the bell and the bracket. I also went ahead and cleaned, as I normally do, the light sockets. Now all I do there, if they look reasonably clean, I have been known to get a Dremel brush down inside of those. These didn't look like they needed them, but I did use a Q-tip with alcohol, in this case, instead of mineral spirits, to clean them out first. Then I used what I think is one of the, again, limited but good applications for CRC 226, because it lubricates, cleans, and enhances electrical properties, is to clean the inside of the light socket with CRC 226. How many times have you had bulbs stuck in these sockets when you open it up and it hasn't been opened in 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Sometimes they're a challenge to get out. My experience has been is that sometimes they're so challenging to get out by grabbing a hold of the dome on the bulb that the dome of the bulb separates from its base. Don't want that. The next thing I did is I went ahead and disabled the reverse unit. Took the screws out so that I could clean it. Now there isn't a whole lot to do on these two-position reverse units to clean them, other than to get a Q-tip on the inside and try to take out as much buildup of oil, grease, dirt, dust that you can, and then start spraying it with CRC 226 to make sure the lift and everything is working properly inside. We won't know if that did any good until we get it back reassembled and on at least the track stand. The other thing I did was I did a cold wash on the top part, the deck of the chassis, including the steps, and I used just dampened paper towels and Q-tips to clean this upper deck, and it was filthy, but you can still see the dirt line or dust line if you look closely. You may not be able to see it on camera, but it's there, of how dirt and dust can stain paint. So I cleaned it as good as I could. I did not want to use any kind of solvent because I did not want to disturb the paint, given that this yellow paint has already got reputations for easily flaking. But I cold wash it, as I say, with Q-tips and paper towel. Then I dampened a Q-tip with CRC 226, again, another one of its good applications, because it will eventually cure and it'll give the paint a little bit greater depth. So I went ahead and went over it with Q-tips, dampened in CRC 226. It is plastic compatible, although there's no plastic up here, but it's also compatible with paint. And you can even use it to lightly coat plastic if you wish to give that coloration a little bit more depth. I did go ahead and finish cleaning. Now that I've got the top of the chassis finished, I went ahead and finished cleaning the bottom of the chassis from about this point here all the way to the back. And I removed that very large grease ring that was right here. I thought it was interesting that apparently the template that they put on these during painting had a much larger area left for the top of the back truck. Obviously they're not going to put a washer on there that big, I don't think. The washer conforms to move the camera over just this back portion of the opening right here for the spring. So I just thought it was interesting that it was that large. I am going to coat this very lightly in grease, even beyond the size of the washer that goes on here, or spacer that goes on here, just to prevent maybe the exposed metal, unfinished metal right here, from collecting any rust.